environmental priority meets military engineering capacity, meets governmental budget, and voila. No scarcity, no problem, no delay. My name is Christopher Life. I'm all in for all life. And that's a commitment to bring all that I am in service to the entire planetary field of life for the entirety of my life. And it's a commitment to be so cracked open by all of life in each moment to be fully alive. One of the ways that I ground that commitment to live and be and go all in for all life is to invite people into a deeper conversation around how we fully ground the evolutionary imperatives that live inside of each of us. One of those structures that I'm most inspired by is the existing system of government here on Earth, and our ability to realize that now is our time to step into leadership, to actually be the ones who decide how our budgets, how our militaries, how our international policy comes to being, so that from the inside of those government systems, we can actually start to lay down the innovations, lay down the regenerative technologies that are actually required at a planetary scale. The technologies and the inventions and the innovations that we need to fully thrive on Earth are here. They're grounded, they're landed, they're proven. Our leadership opportunity at this time is to ground and scale them. And so this is an opportunity and an invitation for all of us as a global family to start to prioritize the innovations, the regenerative capacities, how we treat our elders, how we treat our children, how we educate our youth, how we heal our bodies, how we provide for ourselves, how we bring in the energy we need to run our systems, our homes, our cities, our technologies. Now is a time for us to prioritize what actually matters. But it's not a pipe dream on if we can do this. It's about willpower. It's about decision. It's about getting off of the fence and saying that now is the time to go all in, to bring what we already know and have to full fruition. That's the moment in time we're at, where every individual, every system, every organization, every government, every family, inside of themselves is a tide, feeling into and choosing the readiness to let go of all that we've been holding on to, how we've done things, and fully embrace change. I think about a healer. I think about someone so wise and so compassionate that they know that all the ways that we're fighting each other, all the ways that we are in lack and scarcity, all the ways that we're angry, all the ways that we're depressed, are all connected to traumas and limitations that live inside of us. And I see this healer, this archetype, willing to counsel and hold space for adults and teenagers and children to really feel all that pain, all that trauma, be held in the process of healing and release. But that's happening one by one by one. And it's happening at a minute scale. If we take that as one example of regeneration, and we start to think about what it would look like to actually have 60,000 people in a city receive that same service and benefit, we just start to actually think in an operational way, like any city thinks about providing services or resources to their citizenship. So what's our annual budget? How do we recruit? How do we train? How do we build a service force? How do we create civil servants that have this capacity to scale this service so that there's nobody in the city that doesn't have full access to that regenerative healing? The budgets are there. People are looking for jobs. There's people there. The ability to train these people to be healers in their local communities is all available. All the pieces are there. So if we start to think about our evolutionary services as the future programming of a city, it's there. We prove the model that thousands of other cities that were watching us can say, oh my God, we can do that too. So as we ground these evolutionary imperatives into our local government, it has the ability to spread like wildfire as the mayors and the leaders of these cities genuinely care about their people, but do not have the capacity to know how to actually bring forth human vitality. And that's one example. But we could start to look at all the different ways that we know in our hearts and our minds that we can be doing better. And we can start to think about them like the programs that a city would offer. And then from there, we just run the play. We could look at everything that we care about and apply it through this lens of what happens when we actually put the government behind it. And it starts getting really interesting, and it grounds our hope, and it grounds our vision, and it grounds the sense of feeling in our bodies of its inevitability. Albert Einstein says that you can't use the same level of consciousness to solve a problem that created it. And there's so many aspects of our reality that have been fragmented in the modern expression of society. People are genuinely isolated from each other. People's level of intimacy is low. People's connection to nature is minimal. People's attachment to technology and entertainment is higher. So many people aren't doing the practices that get them fully in their bodies. A lot of people don't have the community that says, I believe in you, that says, tell me what you want to create and how we can support you in doing that. People don't have vital foods, and so they're waging war on themselves with every meal that they eat. They may not have the breeze or the sunshine. They may not have celebration and music that can be able to activate and enliven their joy, to counterbalance their pain, to feel the possibility that it's actually worth sticking around here on earth in the body. When we step away from our standard life and we come into something like a festival, we have all of those things in abundance. We have the full connection to nature. We have connection to our bodies. We have the connection to each other. We have a container where we can get out of our minds and allow our hearts to open wider and wider and wider. We have the spaciousness. We have the time to sink in deeper and deeper and deeper. We're able to hold each other as a community, see each other, create celebration, get into all the different nooks and crannies of what matters most. And like a deep tissue massage, that it just takes time. Over the course of multiple days in a festival setting, as the coherence of that field builds and builds and deepens, and everybody steps deeper into their truth, and the collective field of those people who have been celebrating and crying and healing and eating and laughing together just starts to get richer and richer and richer, then you can feel that a real collective intelligence is forming and holding us together and supporting us to birth the next expression of ourselves individually and collectively. It's like a moment of incubation. It's a moment where we say, I'm going to actually prioritize what matters most to me. And those that are creating these opportunities, God bless you. Thank you for having the vision of knowing that we need to come together. We need to immerse in nature. We need to raise the vibration of the foods that we're eating. We need to heal together. We need to synergize We need to collaborate. All of those things and more effortlessly occur in these festival settings. And I think that these festival settings are life itself, creating the space for us to find each other, to trust each other, to love each other, so that we can actually co-create the new world together. It's so easy in a elevated moment to sense into this unity consciousness, to say we're all one, to say we're one human family, we're one life, we're one planet. And yet, it's also so easy to realize that we hold deep judgments about each other, about our otherness, about how different we are, about how we don't understand. They'll never understand me, or I'll never understand them, or they're different, or they're weird, or they don't really have anything to contribute. And so on one side, we have this like spiritual ideal, and on the other side, it's so easy to have this real life experience. And by creating spaces where we commit to come together and stay, then we have the opportunity to rub each other all the wrong ways and stay. We have the opportunity to have the judgments of each other, different races, different ages, different genders, different sexual preferences, and the list goes on. And to start to actually allow the judgments to surface, to be seen, to play themselves out, to all those energies to rise. And if we were to leave in that moment, like if that was something that was a blip while two people were walking down the street at each other and they have some interaction that feels negative and it reinforces a judgment, then that's one thing. But if we're in a container for multiple days and we're committed to stay and we're committed to loving each other, then it allows the space for those judgments to live, but then for us to also see each other's humanity and actually have the space to share each other's stories and to start to humanize each other, start to love each other, start to eat with each other, start to dance with each other, to talk about our past and our pain and our lineages, and start to allow the seeing of each other that occurs in these types of containers to start to alchemize the judgments of each other and the appreciation of not from, oh my God, that race was different, but oh my God, we can't do it without them. Or, oh my God, those elders are has-beens, to, oh my God, they carry so much wisdom and code that we can't do this without them. And the list goes on and on. So by holding these spaces, it allows that pain and that trauma and that judgment to rise and then also be alchemized and then lean into inclusive unity consciousness deeper and deeper, and not from the mental space of we should be inclusive, but from the embodied perspective, having gone through those journeys together, having sweat together, having cried together, having built a camp together, having shared these experiences, sharing our warm clothes with each other because we're cold at night. And little by little, we heal those lineage wounds. We heal those differences. And we can then stand as leaders going forward saying, this uncle, this elder is my peer. This sister from this native community and tribe is my peer. And we no longer will tolerate the divisive consciousness to come within us because we've actually held the space to alchemize it within us. And that's one of the things I think is one of the greatest blessings that can occur here. And what I'm so grateful about this particular event that we're a part of is that inclusivity, to make those invitations, to actually allow us to be in a space to alchemize interracial and intergenerational challenges in order to heal and allow us to embody a more inclusive humanity going forward. I was talking to somebody and they mentioned the term freedom culture. And it reminded me of that quote that's along the lines of, what the world needs most is for people to come alive and to do whatever makes them feel alive. And maybe there's a story of, I'm not good enough, or that's too big, or it's not me, or it's not now, or all those types of things. And true liberation actually comes when we trust ourselves and we say yes to what's living inside of us. And so I can completely get behind the term freedom culture as a space holder, as a use of language to help us to hold this aspiration for us to individually liberate ourselves and for us to collectively liberate ourselves by each of us feeling free to be fully ourselves, to give fully what we want to give. And when I imagine a future where that's normalized, where every person walking down the street is so passionate about every other person walking down that street to be fully free to be themselves, that's liberty. I don't think that peace is something we can reach for. I think peace emerges when we fully commit to forgiveness. The lack of peace that lives inside an individual is connected to the way that they are fragmented inside of themselves because of the judgments they have of themselves and their own limitations. And forgiveness isn't like, you did a bad thing to me, and so now I'm no longer going to blame you for doing that bad thing to me. Forgiveness is, I let it go. I baptize myself with the redemption of allowing myself to be fully reset, to heal internally, and to let it go. As we move into peace at a collective level, at an interracial level, the conflict all comes from not letting go. Now, the pain bodies and the traumas and the atrocities and the subjugation are real. So I'm not talking about bypassing. I'm talking about fully acknowledging the pain that you, your family, that your people have endured. The rape, the murder, the systematic genocide, the gnarliest of atrocities you can possibly imagine. To look that straight in the eye and saying, for me and my children, I draw a line. I choose consciously to let that go. So I'm not defined by my past. So I'm not defined by the pain that I hold. I'm going to create peace in my world and in the world because I'm going to forgive so boldly. So peace and the ability to achieve peace is a choice that will never come fully through negotiation. It will never come fully by getting this or getting that, or by mentalizing. It won't even come fully from empathizing with each other. We get peace when we choose to forgive. And when we make that stand of forgiveness, we hold that in our bodies, in our energy field, and we commit to letting it go, to drawing a line in the sand and saying that pain body is actually ready to be shut down because the future is so precious that I'm not going to let this bully come into our future and create conflict inside of us and our human family. And so if you aren't experiencing the peace in your life that you want, it's an opportunity to completely abandon the strategy of blame the strategy of trying to figure out a solution and to choose for yourself to go all in, to forgive anything that's happened in the past, to set yourself and set your people free. I invite everybody to really revisit what liberty means and why that when it comes down to the few words that we use to ground what America stands for, what the forefathers and the foremothers used to ground what America stands for, it's that. It's liberty. It's the ability to be completely free, not subjugated by any forces that prevent you from being fully yourself, but to be fully sovereign. And so may we let the flag of freedom culture fly and wave. And may the masses mobilize around being fully initiated around what that means, how to talk about it, how to support it in each other, and how to ground it in how we operate as a society.